penny dropped. I went, this is exactly what Jimmy should do, you know. That's the story. And so I turned Jimmy onto him, and that became Led Zeppelin.
Terry Reid, who turned down Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple, has died. He was 75.
So, we may have just uncovered something that's either mildly insane or full-on crazy. What if the most legendary scream in rock history, the one that launches Immigrant Song and gives literal goosebumps, never actually belonged to Robert Plant at all? Wait, what? Not sure what we're talking about? Let's back it up. We're talking about Led Zeppelin, one of the most famous rock bands ever. Think screaming vocals, wild guitar solos, giant hair, and music your parents probably made out to in the 70s. Now here's the twist. It might have been someone else entirely, a guy named Terry Reid. Terry who? Exactly. You probably haven't heard of him. But this man might have been the guy, the frontman of Led Zeppelin, the literal voice of rock history, and he passed it up. Let's rewind back to 1968. Jimmy Page, who was forming a new band after leaving the Yardbirds, picks up the phone and calls Terry Reid. He says, "Hey, I want you to be the lead singer of my new group. You in?" Terry Reid, already a respected singer with a booming voice, already opening for the Rolling Stones, already building a solo career, says no. Not because he didn't like the idea, he was just already booked for other big tours. The timing didn't work. But then, he doesn't just hang up. He tells Jimmy Page, "Hey, check out this guy Robert Plant. He's young, unknown, but has a wild voice. And while you're at it, grab his drummer too, John Bonham." Because if Reid had said yes, Led Zeppelin as we know it would have sounded completely different. Maybe no Stairway to Heaven, maybe no Robert Plant, maybe a different kind of heavy rock entirely. Get comfy because you're about to hear a whole lot of wild. Let's dive more into Terry Reid and what he was about. Critics called him super lungs because this guy could literally shatter glass with his voice. He was touring with the Rolling Stones at age 16. He even opened for Cream and Jethro Tull. He dropped early solo albums like Bang Bang, You're Terry Reid, and River, and that's just to name a few. But any mainstream success was basically zero, like none. So here's the thing that kind of leaves us all scratching our heads. Reid had solid momentum. He tours in a crew, and loads of contacts, references. He already turned down a Stones tour just so he could push his solo vision. Then Page calls, and he turns that down too. Instead, he sends over this kid, Robert Plant, who was in Band of Joy. Which leads to the obvious but very grand question, what if Reid had said yes? Imagine the debut album instead of Led Zeppelin if you get something different. It's hard-hitting R&B rock, grittier and funkier. And oh, critics are still freaking out. You're getting attention, but for different reasons. Picture it like this. Terry Reid is the singer and plays rhythm guitar. You hear his screaming into the mic while punching out chords. Jimmy Page stands next to him, shredding guitar notes like fireworks. The two play harmoniously. Then you have John Bonham drumming behind them. His beat is heavy and precise. And when Reid and Page nail a riff together, Bonham goes into full-on groove mode. Picture your heart beating in sync with the kick drum. The crowd is sweating and shouting along. In classic Led Zeppelin shows, people waved lighters to Stairway to Heaven. In this alternate reality, there are no lighters. Fans, including you, crowd the stage, jumping and soaking in the live energy, not worshiping some mythic illusion. Zeppelin no longer feels like mystical wizards. They feel like a raw, soulful rock machine powered by sweat and riffs. This is street-level soul rock, something that not many can understand. In real life, Stairway to Heaven is a slow building song, almost 8 minutes long, ending with a soaring guitar solo and Plant whispering about leaves in a hedgerow. It's classic fantasy storytelling in rock music. But that song was written by Page and Plant in 1970 as part of Led Zeppelin 4. But this doesn't match Reid's style. He didn't write like that, he wasn't poetic, and certainly didn't fit the mystical vibes either. His songs were shorter songs with a groove and a soulful feeling. In this alternate band, maybe a new ballad replaces Stairway, shorter, funkier, exactly how Terry would have performed it. The song would lack flutes and a build-up, just a shorter track that hits your vibe in a bar, not a cathedral. Without Stairway, Zeppelin doesn't become a spiritual pilgrimage band. They stay grounded and heavy. In real life, Plant became a global rock icon, famous for his high screams and mythic lyrics. He stayed in Led Zeppelin until the early 80s. But if Terry Reid had said yes to Jimmy Page's offer back in 1968, Plant wouldn't have joined that band. He probably would have stayed with his current group, Band of Joy, and ended up another singer who never really breaks out and hits mainstream. He doesn't become the high-pitched rock star everyone then copies later. In real life, Black Sabbath and Zeppelin released albums around the same time. Sabbath leaned dark and heavy. Zeppelin, quite the opposite, being more mystical and grand. But it wasn't a face-off between the two. Zeppelin became the biggest act, and Sabbath helped spawn heavy metal. Plan Led Zeppelin. And that's just how it is, but what if Zeppelin has Terry Reid singing instead? That version of Led Zeppelin would have gone head-to-head with Black Sabbath for the title of heaviest band on Earth. Imagine the drama, like fans picking sides. They'd probably be doing co-headlining tours and turning every concert into a rock and roll showdown. Instead of one band ruling the scene, the whole genre grows from two constantly outdoing each other. Now, zoom out. One guy, one phone call, and a "nah, I'm good" changed everything. Terry Reid could have been the voice of Led Zeppelin, but he passed. And that opened the door for Robert Plant to scream his way into history. Reid never got the spotlight, but his choice literally shaped the future of rock music. One decision now has us all wondering how different things could have been. So now I'm throwing it to you. If you were Terry Reid, would you have said yes to Zeppelin? Or kept doing your own thing? Drop your answers in the comments. Do you think Terry made the worst decision of his life ever, or what? Don't forget to hit subscribe for more wild what-ifs from music history.